What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner Live, episode 41. God, so awesome. We are up there in episodes, and tonight is a really special one for many reasons. We're doing a bunch of giveaways tonight. Territory Run Company was nice enough to give us a bunch of stuff to give away. I will be pulling names from the lottery for the Ginger Runner Buff giveaway lottery. Craziness Apocalypse Now. That's a movie. That's not actually what's going on. But tonight's show isn't just about that stuff. I brought back a guest that we've had on very recently, but that whole episode went kaput. Thank you, YouTube. The episode is still available in our in the Ginger Runner Live podcast playlist. However, I can't do anything to it. I can't change the still frame. I can't pull the podcast version of it. I can't do anything to it because YouTube decided to shit the bed on this one. So I brought him back to tonight's episode. We're going to be talking about winter running and weather running and tips for you guys to on gear, everything. He's a professional at this stuff. He does gear reviews beyond shoes and is really, really knowledgeable guy when it comes to running and triathlon and everything. Here I am joined by Mr. Brandon Wood, the Gearist. What's up, dude?
Sup, y'all? How are you, man? Thank you so much for having me on again. Damn you, yeah. YouTube! So we got a packed show tonight. We're just going to get right on into it. I appreciate Brandon joining me tonight. He's got a wealth of knowledge. So throughout tonight's episode, ask questions, and we will answer them as best as possible because it's going to be jam-packed with really good tips and stuff for you guys. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live. This is episode number 41. Let's get it started, my friends. Ginger Runner. Yes. All right. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 41. As I mentioned, it's a big giveaway episode. Tonight, not only will I be drawing names for the Ginger Runner Buff Lottery, I have 35 buffs remaining. I ordered a little bit of surplus on that initial round, which is good, but the problem is I have 35 left. That's it. And we had over 415 people submit their names for the lottery. I will be doing the lottery for the buffs later in this episode. It'll actually start in the post show, right around 7 p.m., because that's what I had listed on the blog post. So stick around for that. You're not going to want to miss it. And I have a very special announcement as well that I will be doing in the post show, so you won't want to miss that. But during this live show, I will be giving away some Territory Run Company gear. So it's this really great company based out of Portland. My buddy Brett makes this really cool stuff. I've worn it on the show many times. I have T-shirts like the Runners of the Wild T-shirt. The hoodie here is a Territory Run hoodie, and the Territory Run flat bill. It's really, really awesome gear. I will be giving away 2 T-shirts tonight, and these are the 2 T-shirts I will be giving away. There's this one, which is the Freedom of the Run T-shirt for men or women, whichever one you'd like. And then, of course, this T-shirt, the Territory T-shirt, which is the giant logo on the back, Territory Run Company. Totally worth it. These T-shirts are super soft, super comfortable. People that live, I have roommates. The roommates I live with have commented that every day I seem to be wearing a Territory Run Company T-shirt. So they're really, really comfortable. I'm really excited to give some away to you. So Brandon, our guest today, the Gearist, will ask you a couple questions at various points during the course of the show. We'll do these big giveaways, and the first correct answer will win the T-shirt. And basically, I'll put you in touch with Brett, and he'll work it out. It is only open to U.S. residents or domestic residents only, unfortunately. Just international shipping can be really expensive. However, for everybody tonight, for every live viewer tonight, you get free shipping, domestic shipping. So if you live in the U.S., it's free shipping on anything Territory Run Company, just using the code TheGingerRunner. And you go to territoryrun.co and check out the T-shirts and the hats and like the beer koozies and everything like that. And the free shipping for domestic. And that is a gift for you guys, which saves you a couple bucks if you guys decide you want to get a T-shirt or a hoodie or something like that. That's great. So obviously tonight's jam-packed. But let me introduce my guest. We had him on recently, episode number 35, which, as I mentioned, is secretly viewable if you know how to get to it. But unfortunately, YouTube will not let me do anything to the episode. I can't change any of the description. I can't add a new still frame. I can't pull the audio for the podcast. So I was like, you know what? Let's get Brandon back on, the Gearist, because he's extremely knowledgeable in all topics running and triathlon and swimming and biking.
He's a really funny dude. He loves a good beer. He lives in Colorado, and he's been dealing with this on the regular. I've been following him on Instagram, and he's been dealing with weather and snow and crazy winter conditions basically for the last few weeks. Meanwhile, I'm in beautiful 65-degree sunny SoCal, just loving life right now. But I really wanted to talk about this topic because I get it. I get the question a lot of, like, how do I train in weather or winter conditions when I have a race coming up in the spring and stuff like that? So welcome to the show, Mr. Brandon Wood. I'm sorry I had to do the long intro, Brandon, but it's awesome to have you on again.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I've created a black hole on your YouTube channel. Happy to be there.
Well, like, there's got to be something it's got to be like the secret episode or the Ginger Runner Live lost episode or something. I'm not going to pull it. I'm going to leave it up, but the only way to find it is going through the playlist.
You could have a Gingiana Jones one day. Gingiana Jones in the lost episode. Just one day.
Nice. Gingiana Jones. I love it.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'll be here all week.
Yeah, just nailing it already. Off to a great start.
Good thing you said I'm funny. Too bad I blew that one out of the water.
just real quickly, just like right away. Well, dude, I'm so stoked to have you back on the show. You really are super knowledgeable when it comes to gear, all things gear, all things training, and stuff like that. We talked on episode 35 a little bit about your recent Ironman experience in Chattanooga. Do you want to sum that up really quickly for those who maybe weren't tuned into that episode or can't find the secret link to it?
Sure.
How that experience went for you, being back in the saddle?
Sure. It was my second Ironman, my second Ironman that I completed, my first being Ironman Wisconsin in 2009. And then I also did Ironman Louisville in 2010, but had a medical DNF in transition number 2. So the race itself in Chattanooga, actually, everybody was asking about my goal, and my goal was to have fun and to not go into the dark place. And I accomplished both of those goals. I felt myself start to slip into that dark place where you get really dehydrated and your nutrition gets all jacked up. But I kept it together. Excuse me, had a great time and actually came in at 13 hours 28 minutes, which is about an hour PR, which is not saying much because it's not super fast, but it was a good time, and I had a great time on the the bike and the run. The swim could have been a little faster, but that's okay. The bike, actually, I was on this course, and some of you may have heard about it, where there was an oil slick put out by some sort of saboteur, as were some carpet tacks to give people flats, and I managed to make it through that. Yeah. So I was fine, but no, all in all, it was a really great race. Really well done. WTC, the parent company of Ironman, for all they have a lot to pick on, but at the end of the day, they're this big corporate thing, but they put on a spectacular event, and it was great to be a part of it again, and I look forward to seeing what's going to come up next year. I've thought about a full, but I'm not sure. I definitely want to do a half. There's one in Virginia in June that I'm looking at, or Kansas, 70.3 in June, so we shall see.
Nice. You just rip that one up. Just tear it up with speed.
I hope so. I mean, my previous half Ironman, the first half Ironman I ever did, the swim went well, the bike was meh, I really didn't have the right cassette on the rear. In other words, I didn't have climbing cassette. But then on the run, on the run, I went 134 with 2 bathroom breaks. And I feel like I had a lot in the tank for that one, so I think I was trained up for that, and I'd like to get back there again, do about a 120 on the run, and be able to put down some real speed. So we'll see.
That's excellent, man. That's definitely some serious speed.
Yeah.
Props to you.
Thanks.
So go find episode 35, guys. Go find the secret link to the Gingiana Jones episode. Because when Brandon starts breaking it down as far as what went on during the Chattanooga Ironman, it's great. It's great tips, great training tips for those of you who might be in the triathlon world and tuning in. I also forgot to mention tonight, I am drinking, and Brandon is also drinking. Brandon, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a New Belgium Seasonal. It's the Accumulation White IPA.
Looks so good.
It's beautiful. There's a shadow in there. Anyway, it's beautiful. A white IPA. I like a white IPA because it's not nearly as hoppy to me as a regular IPA, and I'm not a huge, overly hoppy guy. So this is really nice, actually.
Yeah, see, the more dank a beer, the better I like it. Like, I love some good armpity, nasty hoppiness. Give me the higher IBUs, I'll take it.
Nice.
Tonight I am drinking something interesting. So this happened to a buddy of mine, Justin, who has been in Ginger Runner Live before. When I was back in Seattle during the Squamish 50/50, we started toying with the idea of mixing a dry cider with an IPA. So a real bitter, hoppy IPA mixed with a dry cider made for an incredible, delicious concoction. It was amazing. So I found this in the store. It's from Square Mile Cider Company, but it's a hopped apple cider. I was really curious about it. I have no idea if it is a cider like the description on the back, just it's like poetry. It doesn't actually describe what the hell is going on in the bottle. Inspired by the pioneer spirit of the fuck it, I don't care. Just tell me how you made it. Unfortunately, they don't. So I'm going to kind of play it by ear tonight and see what I'm drinking. Those of you who are watching live, what are you guys partaking in? And I'm also putting it in a territory koozie. So let's pop this open.
Hey, while you're open,
go ahead.
I was gonna say while you're opening that, somebody asked in the in the chat room. Somebody goes, "Does it help to shave your body for Ironman?" I have a bathtub. I have a bathtub full of Nair.
Nice.
I'll tell you, I do shave my legs, and it helps with recovery and massage and all that kind of stuff, to be sure. And it also helps with speed, but you got to have some speed to begin with, so maybe not as much for me.
Yeah, I do. You know. Oh, it's decent. It's definitely cider. It's just more cider. By hopped, I don't think they mean what I wanted them to mean. It's still very good. It's made in Oregon, which I just see now, but it's delicious. But yeah, if you guys get a chance, try a little IPA mixed with a dry cider. If you get too sweet of a cider, it just kind of ruins it. But a nice dry cider is good. I do trim my body hair. I find that if I go down hard on a trail or get road rash or anything like that off the bike or anything, having a large amount of hair can make it really difficult to clean out the wounds, especially if they start scabbing over, because then it starts pulling hair and stuff like that, and it just becomes kind of bothersome. I've noticed that in the past, but I also just like the way my legs look. That's pretty much
I like the way your legs look too.
Thanks, Brandon.
There's definitely a vanity aspect to it, to be sure. And it's, if you've ever had a massage, you know, they get down on your legs and it's just like pulling hair constantly. I like that, so that's a added bonus.
Okay, so let's get into tonight's topic. We're talking about winter running, and in some cases we have viewers in northern Canada who, when I say winter running, they're thinking sub-zero temperatures, snow drifts, terrible weather, and that'll apply for some Midwesterners and countries around the world as well. Also, when I say winter running, other states might be thinking more rain or storms or just adverse weather conditions, essentially. Brandon, you've been dealing with this fairly regularly recently.
Yep.
So, in your experience, do you find that you are still able to get outside and get your training in, or are you now looking towards indoor treadmill type training in the off season? Like, how do you go about it?
I am someone who I love to be outside regardless of the temperature. In fact, when I lived in New York, I mean, I've done runs where the wind chill was down to about 45, 50 degrees below zero. And the actual temperature was well below zero. And I just like to be outside more. And in fact, because I tend to run, I'm a larger guy for an endurance person, and I run hot as a result of that. And so being out in that is actually really great. I love it. I love getting out. And so it would take a lot to keep me inside. What I don't like, this was also when I lived in New York City. I remember this one run where we got like a foot or 2 feet of snow, and then I went for this run on a day where it had been like 39 or something throughout the day. So this heavy, wet East Coast snow that had come down, the couple of days before, was this slushy mess. And so I think my time, I was actually going something like 14 minutes a mile, because it was just, you were slogging, and every step you took, you had to step out of a hole and then into another. And if I had that to do over again, I probably wouldn't. But it takes a lot to not get to, for me not to be outside. I mean, I'm willing to get really cold, you know.
I mean, I'm in the same boat. There was so last winter was a winter that I really wanted to do some pretty intense training outside in adverse conditions. In Southern California, we are super lucky that in most cases it's like it was today, where the temperature doesn't really go below 50 degrees. The sun is still out, and the sky is crystal clear forever. But what I'm doing now, this winter, I'm taking a month and traveling north. I'm going to try to get into snow and do really nasty weather condition type training because I love it. I think it's challenging. I think it's important for confidence. Getting up mountains or getting outside when the weather is telling you it's much more comfortable to stay indoors. Last year, when I was in Park City for a while in Utah, and it was freezing, sub-zero, like -7 wind chill or something like that, and I had never experienced anything like that and training in it. The picture that is my profile pic on my Instagram has the big icy beard, and I was using it today, and Brandon, you have one as well. That was taken in those conditions in Park City, and what I realized during those times was like it didn't matter how cold it got, I still wanted to go outside and train in it. Like,
oh yeah,
sure, I'll wear two tights. I'll wear 2 layers of tights, or I'll wear like an extra layer of underwear to keep the nethers warm under a layer of tights, plus jackets, plus I'll layer up more to keep that core warm and still get that workout in out there in snow and snow drifts and ice, and I'll do whatever it takes. There's definitely a bit of danger, though, isn't there? Like, if you have exposed skin in certain temperatures, Brandon, have you ever run into any sort of frostbite or any skin burn?
Skin burn, a little bit. I mean, but what I've done in the past is I've taken either like Vaseline or just straight up Body Glide. Anything that's anti-chafing is meant to put a barrier between 2 items, whether it's your skin and your skin or your skin and the outside. I'd put on like a heavy sunscreen. Even if you're running at night, who cares? You want a barrier on your skin to protect it. So that's one thing I've done. But also, it's been so cold also that I've run in clear glasses. So they're, sunglasses that are meant for riding at night. They just have a clear lens instead of a tinted lens. So I'll run in those to make sure my eyeballs don't freeze, quite literally. And then in that case, it's challenged because if I might want to wear something like a buff, or like a thicker neck gaiter than a buff, or a boof. If you want something, anything that goes around your neck that you're going to pull up around your nose, if you're wearing a glass like that, it's going to get fogged up. But I've run in snow, like ski goggles. I've run in, so I guess the answer is not really. The one place that I have been borderline is it was a pretty cold day. And I went out on a run, and I was wearing, my feet generally don't get very cold, so I have that going for me. So I was wearing whatever type of no-show socks, and my tights left a gap between my socks and my bottom of my tights. So that 1 inch at my ankle, on the front side of my ankle, was like, it was pretty raw and red for a day or so. I mean, it looked like I had gotten sunburned. But apart from that, I guess I've been pretty lucky. I do have both my ears tend to stick out, but I also have a substantial nose, to say the least. And
we both
so
do, right?
And I am conscious of that because, but and this is one thing I was thinking about on my run today to talk about tonight is there are 2 aspects to this, right? So if you're running with something around your nose, when you're in cold weather, 99% of people are going to have to do a snot rocket here or there. And at all levity aside, you really should know how to do that. But if you're constantly going up and down with that, it could kind of create some irritation, I guess. I mean, I tend to be someone who would start with like a buff, and then if I'm feeling my face get agitated, I'll pull it up. But I'll definitely put some like a heavy sunscreen on, regardless. I mean, if it's dark outside, it doesn't matter. Sunscreen can still protect your skin. So I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, keeping a layer. I think that's really important. That's definitely something I noticed last season, was any sort of exposed skin, if there's not a layer of something, whether it's clothing, some sort of garment, or even, like you said, anti-chafe or sunscreen. If there's not that layer protecting you from the wind or from the cold, you're just asking for chafing,
skin burn, whether it's from wind or from ice or anything like that, or frostbite in some extreme cases. A comment from Eric Alvarez is in the chat room here is absolutely true. Smart. We're going to talk about it a little bit. But the thing with running in winter is to be careful to have something in front of your face to keep the air getting into your lungs at some acceptable temperature to prevent lung frostbite. And that's definitely something that I've noticed when you start running in really, really cold conditions, sub-zero, or sub-freezing, I should say, you're going to run into an issue where your lungs get really cold. You won't notice it at first, but you'll tend to notice it later, usually when it's too late. But what I like to do is with the buff, like the Ginger Runner buffs, the giveaway I'm doing later in the show. Someone's already in the chat room like, well, I mean, someone in the chat room is already like, when are they doing the buff giveaway? Later. We're doing it later. But you pull the buff up over your nose, and I did this at the Oregon Coast 50K, and I did it at New York too, because New York, I froze my ass off in New York. But just pulling the buff up over your face, and you basically create this warm pocket of air. Some people can't stand the claustrophobia, but I think it's important. I think it's important to continue to bring in hot air into your lungs to keep them from getting too cold or painful even. You'll get that like heavy, painful chest if you're not getting warm air in there and keeping things nice and cool, because all the moisture in your lungs begins to freeze up a little bit. I want to talk about gear too. We've had a bunch of questions about, do we do tights? Do we do underwear underneath tights? Doing that kind of thing. Before we get into gear specifics, I always recommend for anyone that's running in any sort of weather. I've had this email a number of times where, oh, I'm running the blank marathon on Sunday. It's supposed to rain. What do I wear? And I always say this: you dress for the temperature, not the weather. If it's raining, it could still be 75 degrees. So if you go out there with like tights and a jacket and a hoodie and like all this stuff, you're gonna overheat and you're gonna do damage. Like you're gonna kill yourself. So I always dress for the temperature, not necessarily the weather. If you are running in a very cold situation that is also going to feature precipitation of some sort, then you may want to throw in some sort of like a waterproof, really light layer jacket or something that can keep the rest of your layers dry, because the second you start soaking that with water, it gets heavier and it becomes more difficult to run in, and sometimes the moisture can freeze. So I like to have some sort of weatherproof shell that you can always shed if for some reason the precipitation starts or anything like that. Brandon, any ideas on that topic as well, as far as like temperature versus weather and stuff?
Sure. The first thing is that I would say if you're going out, I totally agree. Don't dress for the weather. Dress for the temperature. However, I would say, I'd add to that, dress as though it's 10 degrees warmer than it is, because you're going to most people are going to get warm. So if it's 40 degrees outside and you go outside and you're like, Jesus, this is freezing, dress like it's 50, because as soon as you start moving, you're going to be generating heat. So that's certainly part of it. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And know your thresholds, because I'll talk, when we kind of get into the gear and stuff in a second, I'll mention some temperatures where I feel like is my threshold for whether I'm wearing tights or shorts, and if I'm wearing shorts with a long sleeve top or tights with, know where your thresholds are, and which are very personal. I can't tell you what you're going to want to run in, but also know what part of your body is extra sensitive. Some people have very sensitive trunk. The trunk of your body is very sensitive, but your arms are not. So you could probably stand just a vest. And then some people are vice versa, where your trunk actually overheats, but your arms get really cold. So knowing where all these things are is certainly, and knowing where your body sweats. Somebody in the chat room asked if wearing shorts over tights was a fashion faux pas. Number one, yes. Number two, he said, is it a good way to prevent dick sickle? Well, here's the thing. Well, let me
Dick sickle.
I don't want to get into gear if you want to mention other things, because I have a ton to say about the gear part of it, but I don't want to jump the gun, and we can continue to talk about just the cold.
Yeah, let's hold on to the dick sickle. Yep. So
I'm holding on.
Yeah, we'll transfer the dick sickle conversation to the gear conversation. I just want to see how many times I can say dick sickle, because I think that's one of the best terms I've heard. It does happen. Dick sickles happen. But before we get to that, I think I want to give away the first T-shirt before we move into the gear section. So Brandon, if you have a question, I know that you, if you have an answer, go ahead and email me the answer so I can see it, so we both know that we can keep our eyes open. Go ahead and email that to me now while I set this up. So before we get into the cold weather or weather running gear, which I think is going to be great, I want to point out for those of you who are watching live, in the chat room we have Chris Vargo, who has been a regular guest on the show. Chris, thanks for joining us tonight in the chat room, and he is an expert at all things elite running. He's on Team Nike, an incredible trail runner, and he's answering a bunch of questions as well. So if you have any questions while we're kind of doing this live show and you don't ask him, Chris is always there to jump in, but don't overwhelm him because he's a fragile human being, and if we overwhelm him, he is liable to crack, and you don't want to see Chris Vargo cracked. Dick sickle. Brandon, let me know when you send me the answer, and I'll.
I just sent it to you.
Okay, cool. I'll just pull up my email. So we're gonna give away the first of 2 T-shirts right now, everybody. Territory Run Company was very nice to give us 2 T-shirts to give away on tonight's show, which I'm very excited about. They're extremely soft, super comfortable. This is open to domestic residents only, which means United States. So I apologize to all of my international fans. I know that you guys have been tuning in on the regular for this. Do not worry. I'll be doing the buff giveaway in the post show directly following the show, so stick around for that. This is for domestic residents only, but you get a free T-shirt from Territory Run Company, and if you would like to go purchase your own, you can go to territoryrun.co and use the code TheGingerRunner for free shipping for the next 24 hours. So, okay, great. I have the answer here. Brandon has the question. I'm going to turn it over to Brandon. First person in the chat room to answer correctly, both Brandon and I will be watching the chat room to see who answers correctly, will win the T-shirt. And basically I'll ask whoever wins to contact me on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll get your info, and I'll give it to Brett, the guy over at Territory Run Company. So, Brandon, it's all you.
So my question for you guys is, since we've been talking about kind of freezing things and keeping your face warm and all that stuff, a lot of times basically what's coming out of your lungs is kind of like saliva. So what is the freezing point of saliva? And try to answer that within, like, we'll say within side of 0.4 degrees.
That's a pretty good range. Within 0.4 degrees.
Fahrenheit, because
Fahrenheit.
This is, after all, domestic entries only and not international. So
that's great. Okay, excellent. You heard the question. What is the freezing point within 0.4 degrees Fahrenheit of saliva? That's a pretty damn good question. So
yeah,
we'll keep our eye out on the chat room here. I just want to pull up the answer again because it's very specific.
It's quite specific.
It is quite specific. Okay, so I'm gonna keep. I'll just keep that window open. Someone just says CO2. And I don't think that's the correct answer. And then someone answered in Celsius.
Wrong answer in Celsius.
A wrong answer in Celsius. Negative. Oh, I thought it said negative 251. Again, that was incorrect. So translate it. Oh wait.
Oh.
Is that close?
I think Paul Johnson is probably.
Yeah, Paul Johnson. Rick Thomas was outside of the range. But I see Paul Johnson within that range. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah. Wait, 31. Oh, no. Rick is actually
32.
in the range. Rick is in the range. What does the range say? Wait, let me find it again.
31.87 to 31.39.
So 31.87. So Rick is above the range. That's true.
Rick is above the range. I'm seeing right here Paul Johnson has an exact number within that range.
Well done.
So I'm going to say Paul Johnson on this one. Brandon, do you concur on that?
I concur. Do you concur?
Do you concur? We concur. Paul Johnson, congratulations, my friend. You have won yourself a Territory Run Company T-shirt. I will say that you get your choice. You get your choice because you are the first to win. Do you want this one, the Freedom of the Run tee, or the Men's Territory T-shirt with the logo on the back, and it has a little triangle, little diamond thing on the front? Let us know if you want the first set one of the first ones, or if you would like the territory logo. So let us know right now, Paul, because you win. How awesome is that? Oh man, everyone's coming in with the correct answers now. Okay, so everyone stand by because we're going to ask another one in a little bit here, so you can have another chance. Paul Johnson is very excited. Yeah, and people were so close. We had to be very specific on this one, guys, because it is such a precise number, and Paul was just right on it. So Paul, let us know which T-shirt you prefer. So Brandon, let's start. Go ahead.
Price is Right rules. Sorry, that's funny to me.
Oh yeah. You, within the range without going over. You just
right.
The Showcase Showdown, and
right.
Unfortunately, you go over, you lose the Showcase Showdown.
There you go. Yes. What were you about to say? Sorry, I interrupted.
No. Okay. So let's start talking about gear. Yep. You have been running in snow. You've been running on ice, and I'm assuming it's been really chilly there too, even when it's not
Quite.
snowy and stuff like that. Yeah. So let's start from top to bottom, because I know that the shoes are probably gonna be the coolest part that we're gonna get to. What do you like as far as gear up top?
So, nice sports bra.
Keep those nipples nice and warm.
I actually wear it's on the head. So today, for instance, I went out. It was about 37 when I went out for my run this afternoon, and then the sun went behind the mountains, and it quickly dropped to freezing. But I just wore a hat, a head sweats hat, not a visor, but a full-on hat. But when it gets down colder, I'll go to the beanie. I actually would have worn this beanie if I'd known how cold it was going to get when the sun went down. This is a very sweatified, because I wore it just the other day. This is actually a merino wool beanie. You like that sweat action there?
Very, very nice. Very nice.
A merino wool beanie by Icebreaker, which is a merino wool company. Several things I like about Icebreaker. But this particular one, it's nice and light. It's definitely not for super cold days, but it is a light beanie that's going to be able to cover your ears. And then beyond that, I like to stay warm up top. Here's something that I'll caution people about, depending on what they're wearing up top. If what beanie you're wearing or what hat you're wearing doesn't wick well, keeping in mind, of course, that wicking in cold weather is much different than wicking in hot weather.
Yeah.
I have been in a run. This was when I lived in New York. I went on this particular run, and it was like 0 outside, and it was a 10K or something in Central Park. So I get out and I'm running, and about 5 miles in or so, I noticed I started really getting hot, and I'm like, it's 0 degrees. How is it so hot? Well, what had happened was my hat had literally, and again, this is why I say know how you sweat and know where you sweat, had literally formed a shell over my head. And so, you hear people talk all the time about how actually an igloo, while it's a house made of ice, is still really well insulated. Ice is an excellent insulator, and I was overheating like crazy because I was essentially wearing an ice hat. Like, it had seriously formed a shell of ice on my head. I took it off, and it was like, and there you go. So so that's why I would say wear what you want. Again, I'd have a range of stuff. I have probably 3 things that I rotate between depending on how cold it is. Wear what you're comfortable with, but make sure that it's going to cover, I'd say come down to your eyebrows comfortably, and also cover your ears, just to keep you comfortable and know where your thresholds are again. So
yeah, you mentioned the merino wool, and that was the first thing out of my mouth for this was, if you can get merino wool items, they're fantastic for all sorts of weather, cold, rainy, moderate temperatures. It breathes really well. What I really love about it is that it doesn't stink. Like, right. You're able to use merino wool for multi-uses between washings, and it doesn't really retain a lot of the odor. CTAM in the chat room has already asked, and this question has been asked a couple times, like with shorts and stuff, but how cold is too cold to run shirtless?
Hey man, there's a picture or some race I did in New York. This is in Central Park, and I think it was that same race. It was like, no shit. At the start of the race, it was 0. At the finish of the race, it was like 5 degrees. And this dude, who looked like Rip Van Winkle, was out there running in short shorts, like split leg runner shorts,
like Dick Sickle shorts.
Dick Sickle shorts, and one of those like old dude tank tops. No offense to any old dudes in the audience, myself included, but old dude tank tops where like the straps, because it's from 1956, and the straps are like 18 inches long, so the actual tank top just comes in right above the nipples. But I mean, he was wearing this like way stretched out tank top. That's not shirtless. but it's all about your tolerance, man. And I mean, there are those people. You see these people that on the Today Show, they can jump in like a bucket of ice water and stay there for 3 hours. If you're that guy, hey, more power to you. I'm not that guy. So too cold for me to go shirtless is pretty much any temperature that is on the thermometer. So
yeah, it's really gonna depend on how comfortable you are running shirtless in certain temperatures. But let me point this out. When you're running shirtless, you're doing it when you start running shirtless in cold weather, you're not really doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everyone else. You're doing it so you look badass. So let's just be honest. You don't really look badass when you're running shirtless when it's cold. You look like an idiot. And someone tweeted this today too. Like when you're running in shorts and it's 6 degrees out, you don't look awesome. You don't look like, oh man, that guy is badass running in shorts in 6 degrees. No. Everyone is laughing at you because you're doing it wrong. So I encourage you to wear layers whenever you can if it gets that cold, because you don't want people laughing at you. Regardless, it doesn't matter what other people think. I get that whole thing, but really, you don't want to look like an idiot. You want to look like you know what you're doing. So yeah, people are already talking about running right now shirtless, or using a deep V tank. So what I would recommend is, using some sort of beanie, depending on if the weather needs it. During the New York Marathon, I ran with the merino wool beanie, and I knew at any point I'd be willing to just get rid of it. If I needed to just get rid of it, I would, because I've had it for years and it's already kind of wearing through and stuff like that. But it felt great because it was allowing my sweat to breathe out. It wasn't forming an ice dome on my head, and was keeping temperature regulated up top, which is great. And the buff around the neck. So from the top down, I'd go like a beanie if it's cold enough, or some sort of head coverage. A buff also works in some cases because then you can pull it down over your ears if you need more breathe room, like off the top of your head if you need your top of your head to breathe more. Otherwise, I usually do like a buff or some sort of scarf around the neck. A buff is great because you can pull it up and around your lower face. And then when we start getting to the body, Brandon, are you doing like one layer? Are you doing a long sleeve layer? Are you doing a under layer like t-shirt or tank top, then a long sleeve layer on top? Or are you doing a jacket on top of that? How many layers are you doing in snow, like for snow running?
Before we go down, before I go down there, I want to mention one other thing about the head that I forgot is just be aware that the sun sets quickly in the winter in the northern hemisphere. So I've been caught out. I was caught out on a run last weekend. 2 weekends ago, and thank God I remembered that the time had changed. I remembered to bring a headlamp because it was like inside of 10 minutes it was dark. Now, of course, it depends on where you're running, and it depends on the terrain here in the mountains. Once the sun goes behind the mountains, forget it. So that's something to consider. But as I go down, I tend to wear layers. Even when it's hot outside, I tend to wear a compression layer against the skin. Number one, not number one, primarily because it's an anti-chafing thing. I've never worn nip guards or Band-Aids on my nipples for anything during a race, but I do know that I've gotten chafing there when I haven't put a compression layer on. So I like to wear something that's tight to my skin, that's going to keep me from chafing, especially when it gets cold. And I know this is weird and people might laugh at it, but look, if you're out running and it's cold, chances are you're smuggling raisins the entire time that you're running. And if your nipples literally just cutting through your coat or whatever you're wearing on top, that's something to be concerned with, that you have fabric rubbing. And so I always wear a base, I have several layers and things that I wear, but I always wear something that's tight against the skin, whether it's long sleeve or short sleeve. My go-to tends to be no sleeve because I just have a bunch of them, and then I'll layer on top of that. But I do have, again, by Icebreaker, I have so many. There's no point in really getting into all the specifics, but I have different base layers that are compression layers, and most of the time those are going to be either a backed thermal material, or in the case of this one Icebreaker piece, it's and all of them are high necked. They're all high collared, So with a zipper, either half zip or full zip, or just 1/3 zip or whatever. Some sort
FYI,
of
Brandon, just so you know, your microphone is rubbing up against your zipper of your.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
That's
Of
okay.
my pants. That's
Of
cool.
your pants. Of your pants. Great. Perfect. Now it's all better.
So that's something that I am concerned with, is making sure that, again, I know where my thresholds are and know what to wear. So I have a bunch of different things that can account for different temperature ranges. If it's like today, for instance, I wore a base layer, which is a no sleeve base layer, and then I wore a no sleeve compression, and then I wore on top of that this new piece by Lululemon Men that's actually really nice. It's long sleeve, it's got a hood, and it breathes really well. The one downside to it, I wish, if I'd known how cold it was going to be, I might have worn something that was slightly warmer or something underneath that, just another really lightweight piece, because at some point some wind kicked up and it got a little too cold almost. But then I'll go, like I have where do I have it? I have it somewhere around here. Oh, sorry. When I'm on top, see what I did there?
You're killing it tonight.
This guy is hilarious. I'll wear, if it's windy out, or if you're concerned about when I'm running so fast that I generate a ton of wind. I can't even say that with a straight face. You want to have a windbreak layer. It's not enough always just to be warm with layers that are super breathable. A lot of the time, you need to have a windbreak layer. So this is actually a piece by, I can't remember the name of the piece. Maybe it says on the inside. This is by Pearl Izumi. It's their Pearl Izumi Elite series. This is actually a cycling jacket. But the reason I bring it up is because most of the time cycling jackets are going to have that windbreak layer because you are going faster on a bike.
Yep.
And this has a nice, and there's actually a running piece that Pearl, I just got the other day that I've run in once. It's spectacular. It's got a nice windbreak layer on the front, but then this blue, the light blue that you see here, this is actually not windbreak. So those places where it doesn't matter are thermal to keep it light, but there's still those places where it can breathe. They're still thermal, but they don't have their windbreak layer to keep the air flowing like you might want it to. So even like you mentioned earlier, Ethan, when you're running in something where it's going to be rainy or what have you, even having a light windbreaker, just a light windbreaker, just literally something to break the wind.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Somebody stop me! Sorry.
Just Dixicle, windbreaking, zipper, microphone, hands.
Yeah.
So here are some brands, guys, just because I know people are talking about brands in the chat room and stuff like that. I'm with Brandon on this. As far as layers up top are concerned, if it's chilly, I'll do a long sleeve. I know that my core body is going to heat up pretty good. If it's like between 40 and 60 degrees, a long sleeve is fine. If I need to keep my limbs warm, I'll use arm warmers. So you can have those extra sleeves. At the New York Marathon, I used arm warmers and a short sleeve shirt. So I had all my skin was protected, but I knew if I got too warm, I could just peel the arm warmers off. I have two pairs. One is extremely thin, so if it's a little bit warmer, I can just use a thinner layer, and I have a thicker layer from the North Face that are a little bit more protected, a little bit more thermal. If it's temperatures anywhere between 30 and 50 degrees, I might do a short sleeve shirt underneath the long sleeve shirt, and that short sleeve is usually going to be a skin tight, like a base layer. Salomon makes really good base layers. They have even that like ribbed compression technology stuff. They can be a little bit pricier, but they do make really good base layer items. Patagonia does as well. I know that the North Face does. All these companies that specialize in outdoor gear like skiing and cycling, they tend to have the technology down because they're already dealing with really cold temperatures for their regular athletes. And then when we start dealing in really cold temperatures, I'll do a base layer, I'll do a long sleeve layer, and that could even incorporate the arm sleeves. And then, like Brandon said, I'll do some sort of jacket on top. Something like I have the Patagonia Houdini jacket. I know that they came out with a new waterproof version, which is double the price, unfortunately. But I believe it is fully waterproof. It's just really thin, almost 6 to 7 ounces, super light, packs into its own pocket. But something like that is fantastic. We can get a really light layer over the top to help break the wind. And I'm talking about farting. It can help break the wind. It's also storable, so if you do need to peel it off, you can zip it into its own pocket, either shove it into a pack or even just attach it to your hip.
And if you really need to get more protection, like if it's raining or snow or high wind chill, the Pearl Izumi jacket is fantastic. Solomon makes good layers like that. The North Face makes good layers like that. You don't need anything too thick because your body is going to heat up and heat all your layers. But like that Pearl Izumi, it's a cycling jacket, but I know it works well for running because it does protect your front area from the wind, and then it even has a little bit extra layering on the backside to cover your ass. I mean, literally,
Ducktail,
the way it's cut, it has that ducktail to help cover your rear region, which is good because sometimes your ass gets cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are just some brands, some ideas to at least get you guys started. I know that there's a number of other companies out there that do also make really good cold weather gear. Let's move to the nethers and to the pants. If I'm running in 3/4 length man prees or tights, that usually means its temperature is anywhere from 50 to 70 degrees, probably not even 70 degrees, maybe 40 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll usually use tights for the lower temperatures and then man prees for the middle temperatures. When it starts getting colder, you're gonna need some sort of either boxer brief or brief for the men, and for the women probably some sort of underwear that will keep your nethers protected, because just a simple layer of tights is not gonna do it, and you're gonna end up with dixicle or dickagina. I hate to even use the term. Wait, no, dickagina is like completely different. That's a dick and a vagina. I meant to say
Vaginasicle.
Vaginasicle. Wow. This show took a completely irrelevant turn. So yeah, I would go with tights with some sort of layer underneath, and to cover the nethers. And if it's really cold, you may want a real thin, tight base layer. Make sure it's super thin that you can pull your tights up over, and that's like a full leg base layer, like what do they call them? Like long johns, but compression version almost underneath that could give you some extra warmth. Brandon, what do you think on lower region?
So I always wear, even when it's warm out, I always wear a boxer brief because my legs are big. So I'd rather wear that than putting a whole bunch of Body Glide everywhere. So yeah. I always wear a boxer brief, and I just roll that over into when it gets cold out. When it gets really cold, there are companies that make specific running pieces that for guys and for women that have over the genitals have a piece of windbreak material. So it's like regular spandex or whatever outside in the legs and whatever. But then when you get to that area, it's a legitimate piece of windbreak area, because it's not about the temperature necessarily. Right. It's about the combination of the temperature, the wind, and think about how much you sweat in your crotch. I don't care who you are, everybody's crotch is sweat. And I mean, you're gonna sweat there. So this is a new tight coming out again from Lululemon Men, and what they've got, you maybe will say here. So this is the front, if you will, and what they've got is this additional piece. I don't know if this is clear to see since it's all black, but this is an additional piece of fabric right over the jungle region.
Jungle, good, jungle. And your mic is scraping your zipper a little bit again.
Damn it! I've got jungle fever. Sorry. So that is definitely something that they're looking out for. I don't know if that's the reason they put it there, but I was running and it was pretty chilly in these. Today it was not as cold, but I have run in these, and that definitely helps out. And again, having some sort of windbreak layer helps. I have actually a pair of tights by the company called Craft. I'm sure you know them. The same company that owns Karhu. And Craft actually does a lot with Nordic skiing, and so they made these. They make these tights that I assume are made for Nordic skiing, because the ankles are like giant. Either that, or for like people like pregnant ladies with cankles. No offense to people that get cankles when they're pregnant.
No offense to pregnant ladies. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Because the ankles are so huge. They're tights until you get to the ankles. Then you're like, who the hell is this built for? So the ankles are quite open. But regardless, they're so great because they've got a windbreak layer on the front, and then the whole rear of the tight is just spandex. But then internally, there's that like fleece layer. So you've got, I mean, I've run in those in some really cold temperatures and been totally fine. I think, I think honestly, not too shameless a plug, but I think that when you're going to buy something, do your research. Go to sites like Ginger Runner, go to the Gearist, and see what we've got to say, because there are people that have tried all these things. Because who's going to know, honestly, seriously, who's going to tell you about craft storm tights? That's probably the most obscure tight that no one's ever heard of, but
Right.
they're fucking fantastic. I mean, if you live in a really cold place, taking advantage of something like that is great. And let other people do the research for you, because finding something like that tight, which is got to be 4 years old now, you may be able to find it for cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I totally agree with you. Especially when it comes to tights and like these random pieces of gear that you're not going to find information about them online, because
Right.
very few people will go to the obscure brands or go to the obscure items and review them. A lot of reviewers out there will try to get the biggest name brands to get the biggest top of the line gear so they get more hits. The reality is there's people out there like the Gearist, like Brandon, who are reviewing everything, because they know that there could be a brand out there that maybe is up and coming, or maybe it's more obscure, or maybe they specialize in Nordic skiing equipment, but that equipment still works fantastically for running or for some sort of winter sport that's not Nordic skiing. When it comes to tights, I have 3 pairs. I have a real thin pair of Nikes, just Nike tights. I mean, those are super prevalent. You can get them on sale, super cheap. They're very thin. I wear them very rarely, because usually if it's tights weather, I'll need a little bit extra thickness. I have the Pearl Izumi Ultra Tights. I think they're fantastic. They have tons of storage. They're a little bit thicker, so they're going to give you that added warmth. They're not thermal, but they do give you that extra protection. And those, like yours, like the Lulu ones that you have that extra brief inside, and that's helped me a lot. I used those in Park City last year, and they helped a lot. I didn't have to wear an extra layer of underwear to keep my dixicle from sickling. It was all one piece, which is great. And then I have a third.
It was just a dick.
It was just Frosty Dick. It was it. And I have a third pair, which is the Lululemon men's tights. They're an earlier version of yours. They're much thicker, and this was back when Lululemon men. I mean, sometimes Lululemon men products are really, really good. Sometimes they're not, and they miss the mark completely. And it's like, why did you even make this? Who did you consult on this? This isn't even a piece of gear that I would ever use. But the pair of tights that I have is fantastic for super cold weather. They're a bit thicker, they are thermal, and they have tons of storage and pockets and stuff like that. So I do use them on occasion when I'm in those extreme conditions. There's lots of really great dialogue going on in the chat room. People love the Dixicle and Badgesicle and all this stuff. For those of you who might be just tuning in, I will be doing the buff giveaway in the post show. People are still asking about it. So we are now moving on to probably my favorite part of cold weather or winter weather gear talk, and that's like shoes and socks. And I would even go as far as to say like yak tracks or any sort of additional what do they call them? Spikes, like micro spikes.
Right.
So I'd say before we get to this, though, I think we should give away our second and final T-shirt, if that's cool with you, Brandon. If you have another,
It's cool with me. Oh,
So if you have a trivia question, I'll give you a couple seconds to go ahead and come up with a good question, and then email me the answer. It can be anything, Brandon, whatever you want it to be. So what we're going to do now, very briefly, guys, is we're going to give away another T-shirt. Territory Run Company was nice enough to give us 2 T-shirts to give away to you, men or women, but they have to be domestic. So if you would like to enter this contest, it has to be U.S. residents only. I'm very sorry about that. But also to U.S. residents who maybe are entering this contest but did not win, but do want to get one of these rad Territory Run Company T-shirts, hoodies, hats, beer koozies, or anything like that, you can go to territoryrun.co and use the shipping code, the Ginger Runner, and you get free shipping for 24 hours. That's it. So pack a box full of tons of stuff and get it shipped for free, which is rad. Brandon, you let me know when you are ready.
okay. Hold on. I'm emailing it.
Cool. Yeah.
Now.
Keep doing what you need to do. So before we get to the shoes and the socks and the micro spikes, let's give away a T-shirt. We had our first winner of the night choose the T-shirt that he was going to win. So he has chosen this one, the Freedom of the Run T-shirt. So
right now we're giving away this one, which is one of my new favorites. It's the Men's Territory T-shirt, men or women, so you can do Women's Territory T-shirt as well. It's very similar to the hoodie that I am wearing in the sense that the front has this little triangle logo, I believe, but the back has that big logo. I almost pulled my computer off and broke it, so that's cool. So Brandon has emailed me the answer. Let me just take a quick glance at this.
It's totally not relevant, but it's still fun trivia.
No, I love it. This is nailed it, Brandon. Nailed it. Okay, so finally, our last giveaway of the Territory Run Company gear before we move into talking about shoes and stuff like that, and then into the post show where we're giving the buffs away. Brandon has a trivia question for you. The first person to answer in the chat room that abides by all the rules that we've already established wins this T-shirt for free. Brandon, ask the question.
Okay. Johnny Cash sang A Boy Named Sue, but who actually penned that song? Go.
Johnny Cash sang a song named A Boy Named Sue, but who actually penned that song? The first correct answer will win this T-shirt. This is turning out to be fairly delicious. The Square Mile hopped cider.
Yeah.
The first taste, I was like, it's a little too sweet for me, but now I'm actually really digging it.
So when you mixed them together, the IPA and the cider, did it kind of knock down the sweetness?
Exactly, and that's why I'm recommending not using a
Brian
sweet
Ashworth.
cider. Do we have one already? Whoa, Look at that! Brian Ashworth. Congratulations. Correct answer. Shel Silverstein is the correct answer. And the first one we have in the chat room here, both of us, is Brian Ashworth. Congratulations, Brian Ashworth. You win yourself the Territory Run logo T-shirt. All you have to do is contact me via Facebook or Twitter. I'll get your contact info, and I will forward it on to my buddy Brett, who runs Territory Run Company, and that T-shirt is yours. Reminder for all of you who maybe live in the United States and would like one of these t-shirts, hoodies, hats, or whatever, go to territoryrun.co. Use the shipping code TheGingerRunner and support small business. This guy's pretty much a couple-man operation, and they are a Portland-based company doing really cool stuff. I'm excited to see where they go. They started a year ago with one T-shirt, and now they've got T-shirts and hoodies and hats, and I really dig what they're doing, and so I'm really happy to support them in any way I can. So if you guys can go there and even just follow them on Twitter and let them know, hey, thanks for jumping into the Ginger Runner Live and giving some T-shirts away, even if you're from another country or whatever, just drop them some love because they're really good people. They're really good people, and they're doing cool stuff. So I'm definitely stoked on that. So congratulations to Brian Ashworth on winning the second and final T-shirt. Remember, we're doing the buff giveaway in the post show, so stick around for that. Let's move on to my favorite part of cold running, winter running gear, and that is with like shoes and micro spikes. Brandon, what are you rocking? You've been running in snow. You've been dealing with ice and really cool temperatures in Colorado. What are you rocking these days?
So I'm going to start up the leg a touch. And the first thing that I'll say is we got, like, depending on where you went, we got a lot of snow. Like, I was at a place called, up in the mountains, there's a place called, we might as well stay with the Dick Sickle thing. It's actually a place called Camp Dick. Yep, you can Google it. It's really there. And there's like 2 feet of snow on the ground. And so I think that an important part of that, even when you're going through any kind of snow, is to make sure that you've got a gaiter on. Because you're going to get snow down in your shoes, and you get wet shoes, wet feet, or cold feet. So just make sure. I've got actually a couple things to show about that. The first thing is this is my full length, like up to the knee outdoor research gaiter. These are actually great. They fit over boots. They actually have this hook right here. If your boots have a hook on them, this will hook. Otherwise, if you're using this as running, this will hook down on the lace at the bottom. This will keep that snow from coming up and over the ankle, and they just strap under your foot right there. So I'm definitely wearing those. I also have a pair of shoes that's made by La Sportiva. They're called the Crossover GTX. Ethan, you may know those.
Yep.
That have roughly an ankle-high gaiter. And again, if you're wearing tights, the tight's going to be able to, these are high enough, they're not super high, but they're high enough of a gaiter that's made out of Gore-Tex that they're going to go, the tights are going to go under that. So it's a good way to keep the moisture out. The other thing I would say is that people like to obsess over socks, and that's fine. Look, I love certain socks. I don't like others, but make sure that you're wearing something that's comfortable. And if you can't find a long sock that has the amount of warmth that you might want, look at ski socks. This is actually a pair of ski socks by Lorpen, and these are spectacular because they're meant to be walking around in ski boots all day long. So they've got these nice padded soles, lots of warmth. They're full length. Just make sure you put them on before you put your tights on, otherwise it'd be a massive pain in the ass. So those are those things. Shoes. Let me lean over here and grab something.
Yeah, go for it. I will also kind of jump onto the sock bandwagon. When it comes to socks, normally I'm an Injinji guy 100%. When it comes to winter socks, Injinji doesn't necessarily make anything that's great for cold weather yet. But Smart Wool or any of those type of thicker socks, you can get them at REI, you can get them at different sporting stores. They all work great. And the ski sock trick, Brandon beat me to it, the ski sock trick is fantastic because the socks tend to be almost knee height. So they actually add an extra element of calf protection and calf warmth. The socks will be great because they're already built for cold weather. They're built for added padding underneath your foot in high wear areas, like on the front of the shin or in all those areas where your shoe or your gaiter could potentially wear through. So the socks are actually not bad for running. You definitely don't want to run into a sock, though, that has too much sock at the tip. So make sure that you size them correctly, because if you start getting too many wrinkles or any of that kind of stuff at the end, or just too thick of a sock that does end up bunching up a little bit in the toes on a tighter shoe, you're going to run into chafing, possible blister areas, hot spots and stuff like that, which you don't necessarily want to run into in cold weather. But ski socks are great. Snowboard socks are fine. I really like the Smart Wool, or just a little bit thicker sock. Just know that if you do layer socks a little bit thicker, or you're using a sock that's a bit thicker than your normal sock, your shoes are actually going to be a little bit tighter. So your winter shoes may need to be different than your regular trail shoes, your road shoes, or anything like that. You may need to buy or get a pair that is specific to cold weather running. You might need to go a half size up. So just know that. You don't want to run into any blister or chafing issues when it comes to that. Brandon, go ahead. I know you got your gear.
Well, I'd also say that there's a big difference, and I see people asking this online all the time, on Twitter, on Instagram, what have you. They say, hey, what is a good shoe for running on ice? The answer is nothing. There are no shoes, with the exception of, there's a company named Icebug, and I have one of their shoes here that I'll show you in a second. Icebug makes shoes where there are carbide tips. There are spikes already in the shoe that are metal spikes. No shoe, no regular running shoe, I don't care how traily that shoe is going to be good on ice. It's like saying there are good things that are ice tires for a car, which is, there are no good ice tires for a car unless they're studded. Now, running on snow is a different story altogether. There are tons of shoes that are good for running on snow. So just be aware of that, and don't go buying a super expensive trail shoe because you think it's going to keep you from busting your ass on the ice, because it ain't going to stop you. This is the shoe I was talking about a second ago. This is the La Sportiva Crossover GTX. You can see the gaiter here comes up above the ankle, and actually what's interesting on the bottom here, they've got two, it's going to be impossible to see on this camera, but there are two areas that they've actually cordoned off where it says spike. So those are the areas where you're going to want to put your spikes, and they've accounted for that, which is interesting to me. But anyway, great trail shoe in general. Although it does run very small, almost like a whole size small. This is the Icebug that I mentioned ago. They make a whole entire line of shoes, so I think it's just icebug.se. It's a Swedish company. This is a special kind of rubber compound, and it actually squeaks like hell in snow. It's very squeaky. But it does a great job on snow. The way they've oriented the lugs and the way that the lugs grip, they're very deep, probably about 6 to 8 millimeters deep of lug. And the other thing about this is that they make a whole, not this shoe, but they make a whole line of shoes that are pre-studded. And they also make lifestyle shoes. They make boots that are pre-studded. So definitely look at Icebug if you've got a lot of ice. This is a shoe I got just 2 days ago. I have not run it yet. Still got the tag on it, which I'm thinking about going throwback to the 90s and just keeping the tag on there like that.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
QR code. People can QR how I'm pimping it out. This is a, what is the name of this shoe? I don't know the name of this shoe, but it's by Columbia. It is a waterproof Gore-Tex excuse me, it's not Gore-Tex. It uses Columbia OutDry trail shoe. It is a trail running shoe. It's got great lugs, not super deep, probably about 3 to 4 millimeters of lug, but plenty of lug basically. But the other thing is that it's waterproof. So you put a gaiter on over top of this if you have snow that deep, or if you're dealing with some slush, something that's waterproof, because again, wet feet equal cold feet a lot of the time. That's going to be a good option. The other thing I ran today I'm not afraid to run in snow in pretty much any shoe, road shoes included. I ran in the Pearlizuni EM Road N2, the one that'll be coming out next year.
Yeah, 2015 model.
Yeah, do you have those?
I do. I just got a pair. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty dope shoe, and I ran in that in snow and was completely fine. But we can touch on this later if you would like. There's a technique aspect to that, which I think is very important to think about. And then for micro spikes. Here, this is by La Sportiva. This is a set of hobnails. You can go to sportiva.com. I think you can get these. They come with this little attachment tool, and then a whole set of these nasty-looking little spikes, which I don't know that I'll be able to show in the camera effectively. But these little spiky dealies right here that just mount right into your little screw tool, and then you screw it right into the bottom of your shoe. They're about $35 or so, but those are a great option that are meant. The threads of the screw on those, what's cool is that the thread is very broad. So when it gets into the rubber or foam of your shoe, it really holds very well. However, some would say poor man's option, some would say the intelligent man's option, is this. This is a pair of Saucony Kinvara #1, because I'm taking you back to the old school, because I'm an old fool who's so cool. Yeah.
That's like 4 years ago. Damn.
Yeah, I think it's probably like 5 years ago.
We were children. We were children back then.
I could not drink back then.
I didn't even have a Dixicle. Like Dixicle wasn't even possible.
Well then. This is a Saucony Kinvara 1, and I actually put up a video about this the other day. And what I did is you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. I went to Home Depot, and I got 2 sets of 12. These are 3/8 inch, number 8 3/8 inch screws with a hexagonal head, which I'll try to hold up to the camera there. These, you just screw them into your shoe. Now, the trick to that is finding where they go best. If you're rocking a shoe that's a Nike where it's got Zoom air pockets, or you're rocking a shoe which is Newton that has a membrane, which you've probably already ruptured, but if you haven't, you don't want to rupture it with screws, then you want to make sure that you're putting these screws in appropriate places. And even in a shoe like a Newton, there are places that you can put these and not jack up the performance of the shoe. In this case, it's just EVA plus foam that they've got on the outside, so I'm not terribly worried. But what I would caution you on is not going underfoot. Make sure you're out toward the perimeter of the shoe, unless you're in something like a Hoka, where you could,
You're not going to feel the,
Right. There's no Princess and the Pea situation going on there. But in this case, the last thing you want to feel is a screw poking up into your shoe. And even if you consider yourself, by the way, a 4-foot, mid-foot runner, put something in the heel, because trust me, if you think you always run on your 4-foot and your heel never touches the ground, you are wrong. And you will fall as soon as it does.
Wait for a downhill, and then you'll see that you're going to end up on your ass.
Exactly. So, I've got other shoes that I'll be running in this winter, but those are kind of the winter runners that haven't been. I mean, this has been reviewed, but everything else has not been. Yeah. So.
I'm gonna be honest, dude. Like, I'm super jealous that you actually have weather around you, so you can run regularly in gear that's like specific for some deep weather conditions.
Yeah.
As far as scenarios that I've encountered, Salomon Speedcross 3s were the shoe that I would use for snowshoeing, all sorts of snow running, really muddy conditions. I mean, the Speedcross 3 by Salomon were one of the most versatile bad weather shoes that I ever really encountered. The problem with them is that they do tend to run a little bit narrow, and a lot of the shoes that Brandon is holding up also tend to run a little bit narrow, just FYI. For some reason, it seems that winter shoes tend to be narrower. I'm also working right now this winter with this shoe, which is the new Fell Cross 3 from Salomon S Lab.
The lugs on this are a good 8 millimeters or so. Just like the most luscious lugs in the world. It actually resembles a cycling shoe because the bottom is so perfect, and the shape of it really resembles a cycling shoe. But you're going to get tons of grip in all sorts of conditions with this. I will be most likely using this for snowshoeing, for snow running, for mud running. When I take this up to North Van in British Columbia, there's super technical trails that are washed out with rivers and stones and snow and ice. This will be the shoe that I go to. Now, if you don't want to start screwing things into the bottom of your shoe, I actually didn't know that La Sportiva had that little screw kit, which I think is brilliant. The problem with it is that I feel like the potential is that you're going to take a pair of shoes and screw those in and then not necessarily want to use the shoes for anything other than that, but that's beside the point. It's basically a great way to transition any shoe into a winter shoe, which is cool.
Right.
Another option is to use micro spikes that are that you basically just strap onto the bottom of your shoes. The brand that I use, I mean, I've used Yak Trax in the past. Yak Trax makes really easily adjustable micro spikes that fit pretty much all sorts of shoes. I've also been using Catula. Go ahead.
Have you used their have you used Yak Trax Run Specific? I forgot to mention this. I haven't seen it right there.
No, you did a review of them last season, and I contacted them, and they never got back to me, which I was really disappointed about. I ended up going with the Catula micro spike, but
Nice.
Yak Trax has a Run version, yes?
They do, and you know, Yak Trax, and you may be about to touch on this. Yak Trax they have a tendency to feel wonky underfoot. The crisscross ones.
Yeah.
Because you feel the spike hit or the coils hit, and you feel them compress. But their Run version has that only on the heel, and then the forefoot actually has a plate with like 4 or 5. I forget off the top of my head, 4 or 5 micro spikes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only problem is that in conditions that aren't super brutal, you're going to feel the Yak Track chains underneath. You're going to feel the Catula underneath. When you're in, I was using these micro spikes on Mount Baldy last season. I actually haven't been to the top of Baldy this season, but last season, large snow drifts, icy conditions, pretty treacherous, like a borderline comfort level for me. Slapping on the Catulas with crisscrossing chains and little spikes on the bottom actually proved pretty nice. If you have soft snow where you're not really going to feel the hard compact surface underneath with the chains, then they actually come in handy pretty good. Otherwise, I really like the idea of screwing something into like an old pair of shoes or a pair of shoes that maybe you're going to use just for winter conditions, because then you can specifically choose the points of contact that you would like to get the traction. There was a pair of shoes. What were they? I think they were. Oh, they're Huaca, the Hoka 11 Huaca. What I liked most about them was that the chevron lugs on the bottom side were put in locations that I could almost dial my feet into. So I knew if I was going up a certain sort of loose scree chute, I would just kind of adjust where my foot strike was to engage the chevrons, which helped get you a little bit more traction. They just happened to be in a location that I could adjust my foot without adjusting my stride too much. So when you have these micro spikes that you can screw into the bottom of the EVA or into the outsole rubber, you're able to determine, okay, I can put them towards the outside of my forefoot, towards the lateral side, so I know that if I rotate my foot just so much, they engage. So if I'm running on icy surfaces, you can engage the micro spikes and then keep the rest of your foot fairly normal. I really like that idea. I didn't even realize that the La Sportiva made those. I have to contact them, see if I can get a pair.
Yeah. And somebody asked in the chat room, aren't you afraid that a screw would come through the shoe into your foot? Well, again, that's why you keep it out of your where your weight is really going to be. Keep it away from those areas. Keep it on. Look, everybody, I don't care if you're and we're not going to have this conversation right now because we're not going down that road, but whether you're a pronator, which is bullshit, or a supinator, whatever, any of those things, no matter how you run, your foot is, for 99% of people, is going to land slightly on the lateral or outside edge of your foot. Where you go from there.
That's normal. Yep.
Right, exactly. People, I've heard people talk about, well, I land on the inside of your foot. I'm like, no, then you have broken ankles. That's very strange.
Yeah.
That's where you land. Now, that's where people at landing, and at push-off are where you're going to engage those spikes. So just know what you have to do. And in terms of technique, and we sort of, I touched on this and then kind of glossed over, but in terms of technique, just be aware that if you're an overstrider at all and you're running on ice, whether it's with spikes or not, you're going to have a hard time, because as soon as you put that foot out in front of you, whether it's on the forefoot or on the heel, as soon as that foot hits the ground on ice, it's going to go. It does.
It's gone.
If you don't land right under your center of mass, forget about it. And so it's actually a really good drill to see if you're landing very up and down with your gait. Yeah, so that's a good thing to keep apprised of.
No, when I first started transitioning into forefoot, midfoot running, the mental picture of running on ice was one of the most beneficial aspects to that training for me. When you start thinking of balance on ice or any sort of slippery surface, your gait changes. You end up putting your gravity, you end up changing gravity. You end up putting your feet underneath your center of gravity, which allows you to balance better, allows you to get just better form and a little bit higher cadence. So think about that with winter running. That's a great tip. You might be running on snow, but the second you start leaning back or getting more into the heel strike or any of that kind of stuff, you're going to lose a lot of that traction, unless, of course, you have lugs back there or something. But it's nice to kind of have that visual image of running on ice, always being at risk of slipping, and just it kind of forces you to get up onto the midfoot and forefoot and keeping your center of gravity directly underneath your forefoot and midfoot area, and it's really nice for balance and for cadence and for all that good stuff with running form. We're running a little bit long, and I realize that. I apologize to those of you who are waiting for the buff draw. This topic, obviously, Brandon and I can talk about this forever. Brandon is a huge source of knowledge. The dude runs in all sorts of conditions from Colorado. He does incredible reviews of all sorts of gear, not just shoes, but apparel as well as gear that you might use out on the trails, whether it's a hydration pack or backpacks or all sorts of gear. So I encourage you to go check him out. I would like to move into the post show now, where we will do the buff draw as well as answer more questions in the chat room. There's a ton of them. Brandon, where can people find you if they have individual questions for you? Let's definitely shout that out.
You can either email info@gearist.com, or, to be honest, brandon@gearist.com, or just at me on Twitter or on Instagram, @thegearist on both of those, or youtube.com/gearist. Jesus, I always screw that up. Didn't we have this conversation before?
Yeah, I feel like it was the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, good times. So give me a second, I'll tell you which of my two.
But I
youtube.com/thegearist, sorry.
The Gearist, yes.
Correct. And we'll actually be putting up a video this Friday, I believe, that's going to be a lot of what we've talked about here today. That's going to be cold weather running in terms of the gear aspect, and then we'll also put up one that talks about it from a more from an actual, like, running, like the physiological aspects to consider with it.
Excellent. So make sure that you go to youtube.com/thegearist, subscribe to the channel, and check out the video that's going to be dropping this week. That's excellent. Perfect timing. So that's going to be it for today's actual full episode. In the post show, we're going to deal with a whole bunch more stuff, guys, so don't go anywhere. Brandon, you can stick around as long as you can if you need to go. I totally understand. But we are going to do the 35 buff giveaway, plus I have a big announcement that's going to be at the very beginning of the post show. That is it for today's show. I would like to thank all of you who tuned in live for tuning in live. You guys are fantastic. And for joining in the chat room. The chat room has been a joy to read off to the side. You guys are hilarious tonight. Apparently everyone has been drinking their funny juice, which is great. And definitely a special thank you to Chris Vargo, too, who jumped into the chat room and answered pretty much everybody's question, which is great. Thank you to my guest, Mr. Brandon Wood, a.k.a. The Gearist, for dropping by on the show. Again, this episode number will be 41. At some point during the post show, maybe at the end of the draw, Brandon and I are going to do a little mini version of episode 35, maybe 5 or 10 minutes version, which will be the podcast version that's going to tell everyone, hey, listen, sorry, the podcast or the YouTube version sucked. Go check out the actual video version. So we'll do that. You guys can stick around and watch that as well. It's all going to be in the post show.
Follow me on all the social networks over on Twitter. It's at The Ginger Runner. Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner. GingerRunner.com. YouTube.com/TheGingerRunner, which is where you're at right now. Make sure that you subscribe this very second. You won't want to miss out on any videos that I do every single week. And live shows every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm talking really fast, which means that the cider is working. Can't wait to move into the post show because we're giving away 35 buffs. The buff draw giveaway lottery thing is going to happen, plus a big, very special announcement, and a very special thank you to Territory Run Company for allowing us to give away a couple shirts tonight. They've got hats, they've got t-shirts, they've got hoodies. Just go to territoryrun.co and enter in the Ginger Runner for free shipping for the next 24 hours. Thank you, Brett, for letting us do that. And a part of me is like, I wonder if we can break his e-commerce store just by sending so many people over there. Let's see if we can break it, because apparently mine breaks the second anyone visits it. So that's awesome. That's always good. Stick around for the post show, guys. Brendan and I are going to move into that and start giving away some buffs. Thank you for tuning in, guys. You guys are fantastic. I really do love you. Pause. All right. We'll see you in the post show. Yay!
Excellent dramatic
honestly,
pause. It was just long enough to be creepy.
Super creepy. That full episode, honestly, Brandon and I, whenever we do episodes, Brandon and I can just talk. There's too much information. You get two people who are so informative with gear and just know we have so much to talk about all the time, and we edit so much out of our reviews. I know that, like Brandon, I for one, anytime I sit down and do a review, it's like 25 minutes long, but then you have to edit it down to like 8 or 10 minutes or something. So Brandon and I, you get us in the same room, and we're just gonna fucking go. We're just gonna talk gear nonstop. So really, really fun episode tonight with Brandon. I appreciate you stopping by, man, and doing that. Do you have time to stick around for the lottery giveaway?
Hell yes.
Yeah. So everyone, here is the announcement. First of all, thank you for sticking around for the post show. We already lost 20 people. We had a ton, like hundreds of people were watching the live show, but then all of a sudden people were like, oh, okay, I'm just going to leave.
You disloyal bastards.
Disloyal bastards. So we still have a number of people who are watching live, which is great. But here's the announcement. So I did this lottery where I have 35 buffs left over, and I was like, well, I can't just open my store up and send 35 buffs to the first 35 people who log into the store, because it's going to crash the whole website again. We're going to run into this huge issue. So I wanted to do this lottery system where anyone could just email me. I would take their name and enter it into a spreadsheet, and we would just choose one at random. It's exactly like big ultramarathon race lotteries. It's the fairest way to make sure everyone has an equal chance of being chosen. So here's the thing.
Did you send that to me? Sorry. Did you send me?
I did. Did you not receive it?
Where did you send it? Just checking.
I
don't mind if you say it.
Yeah, Brandon at Iron Brandon. Do you want me to? Here, give me another email. I'll just.
Brandon at Gearist.
Okay.
That's weird. I didn't get it over there.
Gearist.com. Not the Gearist, just Gearist.
Gearist.
Okay. I'm going to send him the spreadsheet. So here's basically what went down, everybody. I put out there, hey, submit your email. Let me know. I'll put you into the lottery thing. We had over 415, not over, exactly 415 people enter this lottery. That is hundreds more than I anticipated would enter the lottery for the remaining 35. So here's what's going to happen. I have 35 buffs in my possession right now. I will do a drawing right now for those 35 buffs. Those of you who are chosen in this lottery for the 35 buffs, you will have 24 hours to, I will send you an email. Within that email will be a link to purchase these 35 buffs, so you can get them within 24 hours. You have to go through the process within 24 hours once you receive the email. I will ship these buffs out tomorrow, the next day. I would guess it would be the next day. So Wednesday, our time, Pacific Standard Time, I will send these buffs to you. You should receive them in like a week or 2 weeks. But what do I do with the remaining 385 or so people? How about this? How about I do one final round of buffs? So here's what's going to happen.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. So after the 24 hours, after these 35 buffs have been claimed, you can all order your buffs again. I'm going to send every single one of you who entered into this lottery, I'm going to send you another private link to purchase your own buff. Now, here is the disclaimer. Because these are pre-orders, this is the final pre-order of this buff round. I will not be ordering any more of these buffs. That is, I'm saying that now, here, live. This is it. So once I accumulate all those orders, it takes 4 to 5 weeks for me to receive the manufactured buffs from my manufacturer. So these will not go out until most likely January, the very first week or second week of January, because I am gone for most of December to go north for family, for holidays and stuff like that. So that, just so you know, those of you who do not win the lottery for these 35 buffs that will ship out this week, you do have the potential to get your own buff. The final round of buffs, but the shipping on them will be later. So that's the only thing. But you get one, so that's pretty cool. Or you can get a couple. So that is it. Let me check in with the chat room before we start drawing. Did you get the email, Brandon?
I did. You just wound up in the spam for some reason. Weird.
Fucking spam. And that's the other thing. Everyone add the gingerrunner@gmail.com to your non-spam list, because I will be emailing the winners and all of you who did not win. I will be emailing you 2 separate links within the next couple of days where you can go purchase these buffs and secretly get them and have them delivered. So I want to make sure that email gets to you and not filtered through to spam.
Because Ginger and in the buff might definitely go to your spam, just saying.
Yeah, keywords Ginger and in the buff or anything like that could potentially read out. And Pizzanello says, make sure that there's a waiting list for those 35 people, because there's a third thing about 15 people won't claim within 24 hours. Yes. So here's what's going to happen. If let's say 5 of those 35 people do not claim those 35 buffs within 24 hours, we're going to do this whole process right here live. So you're going to see the live drawing. It's all going to be random. It's completely random. So what I'll do is the same process you're going to see here live, I will do it again randomly, and I will choose someone else from that list, and they will get the opportunity to choose one of those 35 buffs. And it'll all be within 24 hours. So that's the thing. That's why I have to wait until like Wednesday to send all of you the email. So those of you who do not win, you probably won't get an email from me until like Wednesday. It's all very confusing, but it makes sense in my mind. Because I want to make sure that the 35 people get their buffs ASAP, but the amount of people that entered this lottery, I want to make sure that you guys get the chance to get a buff. So if you entered into the lottery, you will get that chance. You just might not receive the email for a couple of days, and the shipping will be postponed, obviously, until after the holidays, but you will get one. And then there will be no more ever. Like that is why they are limited edition, is because there will be no more ever. I think let's start doing this. Okay, so here's the process.
Okay.
I have a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has all 415 names. I went through the other night and spent 6 hours copying from the email and posting into the spreadsheet names, email addresses, all that stuff. So all 400, it wasn't 6 hours, it was like 4. But all 415 names are in the spreadsheet. I sent the spreadsheet to Brandon. Each name has a number. Are you able to open it, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So on the spreadsheet, each name is given a number. There was no order to this. I basically chose randomly in my my filtered email inbox, and I just started going through the emails and just adding names into various numbers. That's it. The numbers are completely random. To further that, I am now pulling up random.org just to prove to you. It's on my cell phone. Let's make sure you guys
so
can see
random.
that. Well, yeah, there it goes. Random.org is a random integer chooser. Essentially, you can enter a range from 1 to 415. That is what I have chosen here.
Is that iPhone 6? You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I just want to prove 1 to 415. All I'm going to do is press generate, and all it's going to do is generate a random number, and that we'll do that 35 times. And as we do this, I am going to write down. Let me just make sure I pull up a new thing. I'm going to write down each person's name that Brandon is going to read, just to prove that this is completely random and completely truthful. Brandon is in possession of the spreadsheet. I am in possession of random.org. That is just to prove that everyone is completely random. So Brandon will read the name, and I will verify the name on my spreadsheet, just so we.
Would you like me to highlight the people that I find and then send it back to you?
Do you know how to do that in Excel? Because I was very new to Excel when I did this.
Yep,
This literally was the first Excel sheet I've made in like 7 years.
I can handle that.
That honestly would be fantastic. So
I
that
can
actually
do
is going to make it way easier and way more streamlined and way quicker. Rob Kolinsky in the chat room says, I'm number 416. No, don't worry. There's only 415 that entered by the deadline on Saturday.
that.
What happened to pulling names out of a hat, says CTAM. I think this is way better than pulling names out of a hat. This is about as random as you can get.
Be a big ass hat.
Yeah, that would also be a big-ass hat. All right, guys. I wasn't catching up with the chat room, so I just want to make sure everyone is good. Everyone is happy with this. All right, great. Here we go, guys. Here is the first winner of one of the 35 buff lottery things. Press generate. It says number 17. Number 17. What is the name?
Vera Alves. Come on down.
Vera Alves. Vera Alves. Congratulations, Vera Alves. You are number 1 in
number 17.
Well, number 17, but you are the first to be chosen in the Ginger Runner Buff Lottery. I actually do need to keep track of just how many.
Good call.
How many I'm actually choosing. I don't even know how to do this. We'll just do.
Take a pen and paper, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Cross.
I wish I had a pen and paper here. Okay, so that was number 1.
Damn you, digital age!
Damn you, digital age! Here is number 2. I'm pressing the button generate. Number 270. Number 270.
270 is Jane Swenson. We're looking for Jane Swenson.
Jane Swenson. Congratulations, Jane Swenson.
Congratulations.
Right, number 3. 258. 258.
Samuel Pond. Samuel Pond. Congratulations, sir.
Number 4.
Number 4.
333.
Oh.
333.
333 is Darren Zemlick.
Darren Zemlick. Congratulations.
The winner and his name is fun to say.
I agree with that. Generating number 5. 143.
143 is Larry Tyrrell. Tirrell. Congratulations, Larry.
Larry Tyrrell. All right, number 6. 168. 168.
Is Amy O'Donnell. Muchos congratulaciones.
People are like, they're cheating. There's no cheating. I'm pretty sure this is it. Number 7. 24. Number 24.
Cheating. We're literally 1,000 miles apart. Trila. oh my lord, this is going to be a tough one. Trila Bartlomiej. Bartlomiej. That's really fun to say.
Come on down.
All right.
Number 8. 380. 380.
380 is Henry Gonzalez.
Henry Gonzalez.
Henry Gonzalez with a G-A-N. I've never seen that.
I might have misspelled it.
Okay, it's possible.
It's possible. I was also very tired. All right, here we go. Number 9. 394.
394 is Paul Gregory. Congratulations, Paul Gregory.
Way to go, Paul Gregory. Number 10. 240.
240. Oh, I just skipped right past it. Is Angelisa Arocha. I'm friends with Angelisa Arocha on Facebook, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 11, everybody. Number 11. 381. 381.
Is Adam Shoop right beside Henry Gonzalez. Congratulations, Adam
nice.
Shoop. Or
generating number 12. 131. 131.
131 is Justin Markle.
Yeah. Way to go, Justin.
Yeah. Markel, maybe? Who knows?
Number 13. Oops. Number 13. 175. 175.
175 is Amber Smizer. Congratulations, Amber Smizer.
Nice. Number 14. Keep moving it. 399. 399.
Whoa, that's almost 400. 399 is Amy Iverson. Congratulations, Amy Iverson.
Amy Iverson. All right, here's number 15. Almost halfway there. 322. 322.
322. Martin Tana. Congratulations, Martin Tana, Tonna.
Martin Tana. All right, this is number 16. Everybody, 16. 91. 91.
Well, that's way down there. 91, Jackie Deneen. Congratulations, Jackie Deneen.
And here's number 17. 152. 152.
152. Boris, holy Lord, Buslieta. Boris Buslieta.
Boris Bujlieta. Yeah, you're right. Boris Bujlieta. All right, that was number 17. Here is number 18. 150. 150.
Daniel Perotta. Congratulations, Daniel Perotta.
Perotta.
You know, if there's more than one R, you got to roll it instead of just flipping it. It's Perotta.
I can't roll my R's. It's actually, you're learning that now. I can do it in the back of the throat. I can't do it with the tongue. Perotta.
Yeah, you can do it in the back of the throat. Sorry.
This whole show. This whole show. All right, number 19. 221. 221.
221. It's almost 227. Wow. 221 is always live for today. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a couple emails that didn't give me a name. They just said the name of their company. So the name of the company or the person whose email address was?
Always live for today.
Always live for today. So if your email was always live for today at whatever the email was, that is congratulations. All right, this is number 20. 268.
268 is Elaine Badejo. Elaine Badejo.
Bandejo.
No, just no N. Badejo. It's like Bandejo, but bad.
Badejo. Barry S. asks, so can we still buy one? Barry S., if you do not win one of these lottery buffs, then if you submitted your email address, then yeah, you'll get an email where you can actually purchase one. If you did not enter the lottery at all, then I'm sorry, you're out of luck. That was part of the lottery. I gave you plenty of days to enter, so that's kind of the thing. So we're on 21. 322. 322.
We already did 322.
Great. I had a feeling that we might run into a similar number, so we'll do another one. 207. 207.
207 is Alec Wong.
Alec Wong.
It's not right. It's Wong.
Good one, Brandon. Good one.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Number 22. Number 22. 409.
Whoa. 409. Katie Zink with a K.
Katie Zink.
Congratulations, Katie Zink.
Number 23. 386.
386 is Alexandra Flynn.
Alexandra Flynn. And number 24. 164. 164.
164 is, oh my lord, Steen Demiri. Seriously, there are no vowels in the first. There's one vowel. S-T-I-G.
Oh yeah. Stegen de Meyer. Stegen de Meyer is what I got.
God.
So it was 164. This is buff number 25. 206. 206.
206 is Glenetta Vogt.
Glenetta Vogt.
Congratulations.
Right. 26. 16. Number 16.
16 is Chuck Hall. Easy to pronounce.
Chuck Hall.
I like it.
Way to go, Chuck.
Congratulations. What's up, Chuck?
27. 317. 317.
I can't count that high. Paul Buckler.
Paul Beckler. 28. 99. 99.
I got 99 problems. And Dan Kristen is one.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Number 29. 168.
168 has already been chosen.
Okay, I'll do another one just so we all know. 179. 179.
179. Jean-Marc de Costa.
Nice job, Jean-Marc. Number 30.
Jean-Marc.
3. Number 3.
That's easy. Natalie Halipin.
Go, Natalie. Well done. We are now at 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, so 31. We have 5 more buffs in the lottery. Here we go. 270.
270 is already been chosen.
Great. I'll do another one. 275.
Wow. Jolene Sandvar.
Jolene Sandvar. Number 32 is 324. 324.
That's Jason Scott.
Jason Scott. Number 33 is 57. Number 57.
57. Where the hell is it? Oh, James Collier.
James Collier. Nice work.
Congratulations, sir.
Oh, man, I'm getting nervous. We're down to 2. 2 remaining. Number 54.
54 is just Mandy.
Mandy did not give me a last name. Mandy.
Uh-oh.
But I have her email address, so Mandy, congratulations. This is it, guys. Oh, God. Oh, this is the final remaining buff. Reminder for the rules that those of you who are chosen for this lottery, you will have 24 hours to snag it. I will send you an email right after we finish broadcasting the show that will give you directions of exactly how you can claim it. If these 35 buffs are not all claimed, I will then do this exact same integer, random.org integer choosing thing, and we'll then send that email to the next person in line. So you might still get an email in the next 24 hours or so, even if you weren't chosen today. And those of you who were not chosen but still entered the lottery, you will get an email in the next couple of days that will give you instructions on how you can get yours. Reminder, it will not ship until 2015, like January, like within the first couple of weeks because of manufacturing. But you will get one, and they are the last ones, the absolute last ones. Okay, so here it is. The last giveaway. 232. Who is it? 232.
232 is, of course it couldn't be easier to pronounce, Adam Tapsenu.
Adam Tapsenu. That is it for the 35 buff giveaway. I will email all of you who were chosen during this lottery within the next hour, like once we finish up the stream and stuff like that. If these buffs are not claimed within 24 hours, then I will continue to choose down the list, and you might get an email in the next 48 hours or so. Those of you who entered the lottery at all, you will get an email that will describe exactly what you need to do to go claim your buff that will be produced and manufactured over the next month, and then you will get it in the new year. I'm very excited that so many of you guys were really into these buffs. I never thought that people would be that into it. The first round sold out in less than 4 minutes. I was an idiot and didn't make more. The second round was sold out in like a couple of days. Like it was all pre-order, so it didn't sell out, but it like broke the website, broke my server. All this crazy shit happened. Managed to get almost 1,000 out. And this final round, so many people have been like, I want one. Why didn't I not get a chance to get one? I'm like, well, enter the lottery. And so those of you who did, all 415 of you, will get the chance to get your own. So I'm super excited. This, for those of you who don't know, this is essentially helping to grow Ginger Runner. It's 100% been a labor of love for the last year, and Brandon can attest to this because Brandon is doing the similar thing with the Gearist, and it's a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of love from fans and being in touch with people and hearing great stories, but you know, it doesn't necessarily pay the rent. In this case, this is like the first time on the Ginger Runner where it's been like, oh great, I can actually make something for you, and it's going to help grow the business. So I hope to continue to do items like this. I will also put out there right now
that in addition to these buffs, there are going to be a couple more items in 2015 that will be available that are going to blow your minds, and I'm very excited about them.
Ginger Runner Dixicles.
Yeah, they're gonna be Dixicles. I can't wait. They're a novelty item, but they're great for parties. The buffs are just the beginning. There are some items that I'm going to be dropping that will be available to everybody. Not necessarily limited edition, but ongoing, and I'm very excited. So stay tuned. You guys are just incredible, and your support has been amazing. I have to thank Brandon as well for sticking around and helping me do this too, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, buddy. No worries.
We were so busy doing the lottery, I didn't notice if any more questions came in. I think a lot of people were just really angry that their numbers weren't drawn, but no one knows their numbers. What about the shirt you wore at the New York City Marathon? Exactly, Kurt. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about...
Wait, uncomfortable look.
Well, I'm literally talking about that shirt. People are saying Ginger Runner condoms. Yeah, no, I don't think that's one of the items. Because trust me, I don't think you'd want that. Ginger Runner condom, a Dixicle buff, Ginger Runner testicle. Wow, how did this show get so disgusting, Brandon? What did you do to my live audience?
If I'm not mistaken, I did not say Dixicle first. It was somebody else.
I guess it was from the chat room, wasn't it? It wasn't.
It was you, sickos.
And people are saying, wear the buff with sex, because, why not? Wow, this really is just turning nasty.
Well, how about this? Let me bring it back a little bit to what we were saying earlier about cold weather stuff that people might be interested in. Is that if you run with music, your phone or whatever you run with, they act a lot differently in cold weather. So I should have brought this up during the show, but if I'm running with a phone or something and it's really cold out, I can't put it in an armband or even a pocket because it'll get too cold and it'll shut down. So I like to try to keep it against my body. So I'll put it in a baggie, or I have these, I don't know where it is right now, but these cycling sleeves that keep it against your body and keep it from getting all sweaty. And if you're on a long run or hike or what have you, taking an extra power source along to charge your phone or what have you, just in case of an emergency, is definitely smart. This is something that we reviewed a while ago. This is by Bushnell. So this little guy is actually power storage. So here on the end, wrong end, here on this end, you can see it's got a USB port. You plug your phone into it. It can charge up whatever. But added bonus, if you're out for like days at a time, peep this, homie. It's a solar panel.
Holy crap, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And it'll store power. Granted, in the solar mode, it'll take 10 hours to fill this thing up. But, I mean, if you're on like a super long extended hike or something like that, it'll fill up. But the point is that you can also charge this up at your house. You don't have to charge it via solar. And then it just serves as a power storage place. Because, being backcountry, and there's actually something that I looked at called the GoTenna, which basically turns any phone into a satellite phone, essentially, to a large degree, sort of. But it keeps you safe if you go off-road. Like if you're going somewhere that's off the beaten path, you got to stay safe, especially when it's cold, when shit happens,
I love it. I think that's brilliant. Who makes it again? Bushmill?
Bushnell. Bushnell.
I said Bushmills, as in like
I know
the
your
whiskey brand. Wow.
That's all good.
Yeah. No, Bushnell.
Outdoor Tech makes another one that's not solar, but it's a power thing that I just recently got, and it'll charge your iPhone 5 times. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's bigger than this, but if you're wearing a pack, it doesn't really matter.
Right. That's really smart. Yeah. I mean, because I'm always running and doing the exercise with my phone and needing the tech on the go and stuff like that. And you don't even think about the fact that the cold weather drains the battery exponentially faster.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then we also didn't talk about gloves, but I'm sure that everybody's got their own preference. I've got Pearl sent these recently, with this nice little windbreak.
Yeah.
Yep. But when it's real cold, I've got my Sugoi lobster claws. which it's got to be real cold because I put these on at anything above like 0 and my hands start to sweat immediately. It's ridiculous. Anyway, those are also cycling gloves.
I was gonna say those are cycling gloves. You can tell, but just by the lobster claws, because you tend to have the
correct. So you can shift.
And the shift, yeah.
Right.
But they work just fine for running. Yeah, someone in the chat room earlier asked about gloves. They're like, oh, you missed gloves. I was like, well, gloves is definitely I mean, there are hundreds of gloves available, and all of them will do the job. I mean, there's Gore Windstopper, Gore Tax versions. I mean, cycling gloves, running gloves, thin gloves, disposable gloves. I mean, whatever keeps your hands warm. Mittens, whatever keeps them going.
When I run, one of the things, well, with a mitten, you can't give the wink in the gun. Like with this, you can be like.
That one's good because you also have the finger in case you. Does it have the cell adapter thing so you can actually use a touchscreen?
No, these are actually several years old, so they don't. But the Pearls do. And actually, I was wearing gloves the other day, and then I took them off. My hands were too sweaty for my phone, so I used my nose. So you got to be able to improvise, man.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
So we'll wrap up the show here, guys, because it's definitely long. If you guys have any questions about winter running, winter gear, any of that kind of stuff, reach out to either Brandon or myself. Brandon, if you want to give them again, just kind of the details of where they can find you. I know that we did it earlier, but let's do it again.
Sure, you can go to Gearist.com, Gearist, on all the socials, the youtube.com/TheGearist, Instagram, The Gearist, Twitter, The Gearist, Facebook, just Gearist for some reason. And, yeah, that's it. Oh, Strava. I'd love for you to follow me on Strava, but I don't know how to tell you where that link is, so if you go watch a YouTube video, it'll be there.
I know I've had the similar thing with Strava. Because I don't think you can search the Ginger Runner. I think you actually have to search Ethan Newberry. So I imagine they have to search Brandon Wood. You can search for athletes and search for Brandon Wood, and it should pop up. Yeah. Same thing with me. You can follow me on all the social networks. Over on Twitter, it's @TheGingerRunner. Facebook is facebook.com/TheGingerRunner. GingerRunner.com. On Instagram, it's @Ethan Newberry. YouTube, you're already there. Just subscribe. On Strava, just search for Ethan Newberry. You should find my account. It has a Ginger Runner icon. And that's pretty much it for today's show, guys. I appreciate you for sticking around and watching the whole thing. For those of you who won the lottery, congratulations. It was pretty much the fairest way I could think of to make sure that everyone had an equal chance of getting chosen to get one of these buffs immediately. And those of you who were not chosen but entered the lottery, congratulations. I will give you an email in the next couple of days where you will get your chance to claim your buff. Which will be shipped out later in 2014 or early 2015, probably closer to earlier 2015. But you still get one, which is great. That is a wrap on those buffs. They are limited edition, and I need to stop the buck there. So that is literally it. But there will be more items, which I'm very excited about, coming in the new year, which you'll be able to snag on a regular basis. That's it. You guys are great. Tune in next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another Ginger Runner Live, and new videos every single week, every single Friday. We'll see you in the future. All right, that's it.
The future.
In the future. Bye.